There are various media that are used for direct marketing. The most famous and most traditional way has been direct mailing, where people have used, maybe in the earlier past, they have used just about anybody in the telephone book, because they found at that time anybody who has a telephone must be of a certain income category or a social class or a consuming class, so it was easy. Today, of course, you don't have that kind of telephone directories and so on and so forth. So there are other ways by which people still try to reach you through direct mail. You will see that you get a lot of mails from, say, credit card companies or housing finance companies or insurance companies or many other product categories. There are many today who use direct mails. There are also a bunch of players who do telemarketing, and you find this predominantly in India in the case of people who are selling a whole bunch of financial products. Today you find newer product categories also which are being targeted in this fashion. You find people even selling, real estate plots and many other things through the use of telemarketing. Mobiles have taken off in India in a big way, and so too abroad, and there are people who are trying to use mobiles standalone to send you, say, SMSs, or they call it abroad text messages, to invite you to try and participate. There are also people who use mass media, newspapers, magazines, televisions, in the hope of making you kind of respond. You might see, for example, there are home shopping networks or television programs which are shopping oriented, and always you'll see a number scrolling at the back saying call now, get a special offer. You also see several papers having deals from several companies. For example, music is being sold, books are being sold, many other products, even cell phones are being sold in this fashion, where you have to call a number and figure out what is the best deal you can get. You also have door-to-door neighborhood or group-based kind of programs. For example, Tupperware has neighborhood kind of parties or people getting together at a specific location and things happening like that. Plus, of course, there's online media, the internet, which has become ubiquitous in this regard. There are many people who use an integrated mix, which is they use online, they use mobile, they use mass media, and even direct. So you have people who use a bunch of all these things, and once you get onto the mailing list, it's very difficult to shake them off. And you really have today situations where the telecom authorities have to put do not disturb or do not call kind of programs, so that you don't get harassed by such spam messages or phone calls or what have you. But these are the various kinds of media that you can consider using for direct marketing. So what really are the advantages of direct marketing? One, as we can very quickly understand, it's far more focused, because you know who your prospects are, you know who's going to be a more likely prospect. Over time you get better at it, so it's far more focused. For niche products, products which require customization, products which require more explanation or demonstration, it can be very cost effective. Eureka Forbes has done this for several years, and there are other niche products too which are done pretty well. Life insurance is one of the first to be sold in a direct fashion. The company uses agents who are actually only representing that company, and maybe there's a development officer sometimes assisting, but it's really between the company's agent and the prospect, and insurance has been sold like this for eons. The third big interesting thing about this is very clearly how to measure, and you can attribute a specific success to a specific either media or a person or what have you. The fourth important thing is it's very immediate, because you take some action today, the results and therefore it's flexible. You can put 2 people today, 3 people tomorrow, 10 people day after tomorrow, and you can bring it down as well. There's also an ability to test, retest, and measure the impact of different variables. For example, if I change the price, what will the response be? What are customers going to say? If I change some features, do the customers like it? They don't like it? So you are able to figure out, if you use different media, are you getting more responses? Different pricing, are you getting change in demand? So on and so forth. So it's far more immediate, measurable, attributable, and you can test and you can measure what's happening. Plus, it also affords you the ability to go international. For example, if you are selling certain services to a B2B audience, you can have your own salesperson, maybe initially one person, and you can have that person go directly to prospects and talk to them, and you can actually have an international presence. Many companies have done that. You can also have tailored messages. Customer A may be of a certain type, so the message to that customer can be of one type, whereas the message to another customer can be more customized to their requirements, their needs. Actually, you can do that with pretty much the same offering, but the message and the focus can be quite different. For a company too, which relies on intermediaries, this is also a means to have an alternate distribution channel, one on which they have more control and more power because it's theirs, it's directly under them. And finally, it's very good opportunity for companies to build a database of their customers and have closer interaction with them. So as you can make out, there are several advantages to having a direct marketing program. However, there are also some disadvantages. For the first, it might not be very cost effective for very mass, high volume, yet low value products. It may not be a good idea, for example, to do this for something like salt, it may not be cost effective at all. Secondly, in many countries today, there are a lot of regulatory and legislative constraints because of concerns of privacy. It's very intrusive. There's also an issue of security which comes a little bit later. Many places in India you find now in urban areas, there is the society of the flats or apartment blocks which have security people who don't let anybody and everybody come in. So it's becoming more and more challenging to overcome issues of privacy and security. There's also sometimes a law of diminishing returns at play here, because initially it might be novel, people might be willing to talk to you. After a while, like for example today with credit cards, for many people it becomes quite irksome to receive calls asking you and soliciting your business to become a member of yet another card company. So there could be diminishing returns. You have to make that many more calls to get one prospective customer. It also sometimes can irritate your existing intermediaries who see you as a way of diminishing their importance and their returns. So that can create some friction, and you will have to see how to manage it. And then there's also a new generation of information intermediaries who are seeming to be more efficient. For example, there are these group buying phenomenon which are online, mobile, etc. So there are several things where it may not be as good and rosy as it was earlier, or as it sounds. So one has to keep in mind these disadvantages or these limitations of direct marketing. So in conclusion, we have seen that direct marketing is quite a fascinating area. Many companies, right from Eureka Forbes to life insurance company to Amway to Tupperware and many others, have used this to great advantage, build big businesses out of using direct marketing. And really speaking, why it is direct is because it's virtually direct between the customer and the provider of the service or product. We have seen there are different ways and options for direct marketing in terms of media and in terms of the ways you can approach and reach the customer. We have seen there are newer age media, especially online, mobile, which are getting more and more traction and also creating both new problems and new opportunities. So it's easy for us to use direct marketing to also customize, tailor our approaches, our offerings depending on the customer, test, retest, measure and see what is happening and which is giving us a greater bang for the buck. We have seen that direct marketing has several advantages, and one needs to use this program or this weapon selectively and more judiciously. It may not work in many cases, it may work very well in some cases, but one also has to understand the limitations very well. So in India, we are likely to see more of direct marketing happening in the near future.